Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. It's a beautiful Friday, and you are welcome to the Shifting Blame series. The Shifting Blame series is brought to you in partnership with Mobile Web Ghana, US Embassy, and Mobile Web Ghana. You know, Mobile Web Ghana and American Corner Agboba is actually partnering to bring you this program. American Spaces provide access to current and reliable information about the United States. And how are we doing this? We are doing this through book collections, internet access, events, and activities for everyone. Today, we are discussing a very important topic that is passionate to my heart, that is very dear to your heart, and I hope that you also find it very important. And the topic for today is social justice and eradication of child labor. And this is at the heart of many things that happen in the world. And this session will be presented by Rex Alex Delano. He is a finance and administrative manager at the ARC Foundation. Rex Alex Delano has served as the Finance and Administrative Manager at the ARC Foundation Ghana since 2006. And in this role, he provides financial and administrative leadership, overseeing the organization's $800,000 annual operating budget and aligning resources. Rex directs key organizational initiatives and programs, representing the ARC Foundation on committees such as Center for Democratic Development, Project Accountability Committee on National Elections in 2016, and the Working Committee on the Review of the Social Protection Bill in 2018. He also serves at the steering committee of the Cowdy International Institute Alumni of Ghana. Rex graduated from the Institute of Management and Public Administration with bachelor's degree in finance in 2011. He holds a diploma in development and leadership from Cowdy International Institute, St. Francis Xavier University, Canada, a diploma in international human rights from Quater's John Abbott College, Canada, and a diploma in business accounting from Takoradi Technical University in 21. During the session, please type all your comments or questions in the comment box below, and they will be addressed. Over to you, Alex, and we are hoping to learn a lot to help eradicate child labor in Ghana. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Florence. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to interact with your audience, and good morning to everyone who has joined us for this particular topic and interest area. I mean, social justice and child labor is at the core of everything that we do. And it is important that we highlight it, we bring it to the foreview of many people across the world. And also to let people know that this cause or these things are really happening. So I'll quickly go ahead and then share my slides, and then we take it from there. Okay, so the major topic that we want to look into is social justice and eradicating child labor in Ghana. And this slide was prepared by the ARC Foundation. And so the areas we want to consider is to look at what really social justice is, and also to look at the type of social justices that we have and how we see the impact or how it is used. And then we delve into child labor, and we look at the statistics and facts and about child labor in Ghana, as well as also look at the laws that protect or speaks against child labor in Ghana. Then we will look at the causes of child labor and then the impact on children. Then we would also consider some few issues thereafter. So let me go straight to the issues of, what we mean by social justice. In the context in which we want to look at social justice, we would want to say that it is a fair and just relationship between the individual and society, which is measured by the distribution of wealth and opportunities and privileges that society provides. So these basic terms, I mean, the key words there are distribution of wealth, opportunity, and privileges. And social justice has principles, and the principles are looking at issues of equality when it comes to public service, when it comes to, as the diagram you can see shows, when it comes to opportunities. It looks at equity, equality, and equity, how equitable are resources made available for children to be able to access, to develop themselves, to move ahead in life, to become great people. What are the things that are hindering that process? We are also looking at one principle which talks about access to resources. Yes, there can be equitable distribution of resources, there can be equality, but probably there will be things that can block access, where children getting issues challenging them might not help them to get access into the educational area, access into social things that will create some form of healthy mental issues. We are looking at participation, and most often children are not added to the decision-making processes within communities. But it is important for us to understand that social justice talks about getting children or getting the community involved or participating in decision-making within the community to help build the health of the community, as well as to push development in the community. And children are not left out. They are supposed to be part of that decision process. And then we have rights, because children have rights. And most often, if adults are enjoying their rights, there's sometimes the likelihood that they forget or they override the rights of children. So social justice and the principles that it carries make sure that these rights of children are properly protected: rights to wealth, right to opportunities, right to education, all those rights, or right to medical facilities, all those rights are properly protected. Then before we go into child labor, I would also want us to understand that there are other types of social justice, like seeking justice for children or individuals. There are different types of social justice, where we have the distributive justice, which ensures that everybody has access to essential resources, reducing economic and social inequalities. So the distributive justice is looking at distributing resources and making sure that children in communities or children and people living in their community have access to it, and they have access in an equitable or equal way. Then we have the procedural justice, where it guarantees that all individuals are treated fairly by institutions, institutions, and that their rights are upheld during decision making. So institutions, it could be the medical institutions, it could be the justice systems, it could be the educational systems, ensuring that these things, the rights of these people are held, children are upheld in decision making. And we have the restorative justice, where when people are involved in or have become victims of a certain activity and it has impacted heavily on their health. For example, we've had children, the ACT Foundation has worked around children who have really gone through, who have survived domestic violence, who have survived harsh environments and needs to go through healing process where they are giving counseling and all that. So restorative justice looks at promoting the healing and reconciliation processes of victims, of people who have gone through things, who have been gone through difficult time that has impacted on their health. And then we look at the retributive justice, where perpetrators are held liable, are held liable by a competent court of jurisdiction or are held accountable for their actions. And also that process helps to deter people from perpetrating further crime or harm. So child labor, generally in Ghana, the labor law, Children's Act, the labor law, and there are some few acts within the Children's Act, which also actually defines or talks about child labor. And it says that if you say labor, when you say child labor, it's exploitative of the child if it deprives the child of its health, education, and development. And this is explicitly stated in the Children's Act 1998. And it further says that children, if a child is a particular work, deprives the child from his or her childhood, deprives her from her potentials, deprives her from her dignity, and places her in a harmful physical or mental situation, then that type of work is not acceptable for a child to get themselves involved. And the highlighted lines will tell you that things that will impact on your mental health, physical, social, moral, and life are things that should not be considered as work for them. And it is dangerous and harmful for them. And also things that will interfere or work that will interfere in their schooling and depriving them from having opportunities to attend school, and also leaving them prematurely out of school, etc., etc., etc. So these are critical issues for promoting or trying to ensure that there's the issues, the principles of social justice are properly looked at, and you don't find children locked in those dangerous working spaces. And how do we classify child labor? We are looking at the age of the child. The age of the child also determines whether the involvement of the child in that process is dangerous to the health of the child or not. And then the type of work that the child is going to be involved in. And then the working hours. Is a child working beyond a certain hours that is not acceptable to, or which is not acceptable by the law, and then the nature of work that the child is involved in. So let's look at it. What does the law allow when it comes to child labor? A minimum age for work and for a child to be able to get themselves involved in decent work. Is 15 years. And then the law also tries to define light work that we can get 13 years involved in. And likely light work constitutes work which is not likely to be harmful to the health or development of the child and does not affect the child's attendance at school or the capacity of the child to benefit from schoolwork. So if there is a particular work that the child is involved, especially a child that is 13 years or 15 years that they can be involved in, then it should be a work that do not have any serious or will not deprive them from attending school or will not have any impact on the child's participation in school, that is benefiting from schoolwork. So the Children's Act is very clear on that. Then we also want to look at the minimum age for hazardous employment. So the law also explicitly says that the minimum age for the engagement of a person in hazardous work is 18 years. So a child below 18 years may not be allowed to get involved in works that are considered hazardous. And then work which is considered hazardous can be said to possess danger to the health, safety, or morals of the person. And morals would be getting the child involved in drugs. And we have seen a lot of some media reports on younger children who have been used as mediators for transferring drugs or selling drugs in communities, which is not really a good practice. And in our work also, we've had children who have been trafficked into Ghana and moved into areas to do prostitution, which and usually leads them to be exposed to STIs, and we have had cases where we have to take them to the hospital for them to be taken care of and given medications and all that that happens to them. And some examples of hazardous work is, for instance, we are so much familiar with the issues of children going to fishing, involved in fishing on the lake, water lake, at the sea, and sometimes they are used to disengage trapped nets under the river. We have also seen children in the mining areas and quarry areas where you see children so much involved. And we are going to look at some statistics which ILO has come up with reports in 2013 about the involvement and number of children who are involved in such mining areas and quarry areas. And then we are looking at what kayaking headquarters, younger girls, sometimes below 13 years, carrying heavy loads in the city centers and other urban areas. We are looking at manufacturing industries where they produce chemicals and products which are really, really, really dangerous for children to get involved into, which can really have serious impact on their health. We will also look at work in places where heavy machines with high noise, heavy machines that can actually cut off or maim a child. Those places are also considered hazardous employments. And also looking at places such as the bars, the hotels, places of entertainment where persons may be exposed to moral behavior. We have recently seen a court case where those who make advertisement for alcoholic drinks went to court. So in places where there are bars, the children may be exposed to alcoholic drinks and other vices, social vices, which the law actually explicitly speaks against. And then we look at global issues. It's not only Ghana that we have child labor issues. We have global issue as well. But when you come to the context of Ghana, it's a bit different because family expects there's some expectations from family. So let's look at the global view of child labor. For example, the number of children in child labor has risen according to the global UN, UNICEF and ILO in 2020 has risen to 120 million worldwide. The number of children involved in child labor across the world. And it is 79% of children out of this number perform roles which are really dangerous or hazardous which are hazardous roles or which are dangerous to their health or their mental health. And about 63 million girls and 97 million boys. If you can look at the statistics, there are more boys in child labor than girls. And globally, this statistics says that 1 in 10 of all children worldwide get themselves involved in these spaces or this kind of situation. And in a sub-Saharan African area or region, an addition of 16.6 million children are involved in child labor over the past 4 years. So you can just imagine the research from 2020 backwards. You can see that 16 million children are involved. And moving the data further into 2024, you can just imagine the number of children that are involved in child labor. Those of us who drive around the streets in Accra or take public transport, we can see some few children begging along the streets, as some have aged less than 4, 5, 6. You see them all around, and having them around those areas can also be considered as exposing them to harm or putting them in harm's way. Coming to Ghana, children aged between 5 to 17 years, about 21% are involved in child labor. 14% are engaged in hazardous forms of labor. This is twice common in rural areas. So it means that if it is 14% here in rural areas, it will be like 28% or even more. Most of the children are involved in agriculture and fishing, like I mentioned earlier on. They are involved in fishing, agriculture, but we can also get statistics which also shows that they are also involved in mining, in the mining areas. And I would push us to look at a report by ILO in 2013, where it says that it carried out the survey, which covered 400 children laborers in 40 communities. And you can just look at the numbers. It's huge, 400 child laborers in 14 communities. That's huge. And it also gave us some segregation in the numbers when it comes to gender segregation. It talked about 56% of those involved in child labor are women, are men. 55.6% are males, and 44.4% are females. The older the age group, the more children that are involved. So 5.6% of children in the age bracket of 5 to 9 ages are found in that area. And then 33.1% of children between the age of 10 to 14 are also found. And then 61% in the age bracket of 15 to 17. So these are statistics you can find in the reports by ILO. In all regions, the vast majority of working children are unpaid. That is the unpaid care work. They are not paid. They are used. They bring the money back, or those engaging them actually take the money from their hands, age of 5 and 7. Then, just like I quoted from the law, ILO has laws which I would want to just read just one, so I don't take too much of the time. I want to just read one of the conventions, the African Charter. I want to read, and I will leave my audience to also pick this point and read about them. You can check the ILO conventions at number 38. You can read further, look at the conventions. The ILO convention is not ratified yet by Ghana, but you can read and then check what it says about child labor. And then the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the CRC, also talked about. But I want to read African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. So the African Charter says, Article 15.1, every child shall be protected from all forms of economic exploitation, from performing any work that is likely to be hazardous or to interfere with their child's physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and social development, So this is what the African Charter is clear on. So you don't have to get children involved in hazardous work, which will impact on their physical, mental, and spiritual or moral life. So we need to take note of that. So if you are close to a community and you notice that these kind of things are going on, quickly take action and have the issue addressed. We have national laws also, which also frowns on child labor. We have the 1992 Constitution, Article 28. You can have time and read about it. We have the Children's Act, we have the Juvenile Justice Act, Criminal and Other Offences Act, Human Trafficking. Human trafficking, the ACT Foundation has worked with IOCO and the anti-trafficking units of the Ghana Police Service. And we have seen younger children being trafficked into Ghana and are sexually exploited. They are taken into, they are deceived into the country, and then they are pushed into labor where they work, and then they don't get the money that they are supposed to get. And then some get exposed to STIs, etc., as I mentioned earlier on. We have the Domestic Violence Act. And then we want to look at some things or factors, some causes of child labor. And we can cite economic factors. which had to do with poverty, and poverty in the area of inequalities, where resources are not equally distributed, and pushing a lot of families into the poverty line. And we know that there has been a lot of research from Ghana Statistical Service where we are told that a lot of Ghanaians have been pushed back into the poverty line. So you have poverty or economic factors, which is poverty, lack of access to education, which are also part of the process. Luckily for us, our educational system has open access, which is a free secondary school as well as the basic school. But there are some difficulties in them getting a basic funds to be able to buy the basic things to get into school. So some of them are left out and are not able to get into the school. Then we have social factors. We have family expectations and traditions. So for instance, in our African context or in the Ghanaian context, most people do not see anything wrong with a child involved in labor or working in an environment or working. So as a boy, you are expected to go out and bring out work and bring something. So it's those kind of influence, those kind of thinking also pushes children into labor. And as we read from the statistics from IOL on Ghana, mid 2013, we could see that there were more boys in mining areas as the statistics showed. And then we have gender discrimination, where there are issues of discrimination between the genders, boy or girl, and the boys, like we saw, boys are pushed more into working areas and all that. So political factors, we have weak enforcement of the law. Yes, like I said, if you move across the city from the Accra Central to east or west or south, you will see a lot of young children between the age of 4 upwards to 13 begging on the street at high traffic, and they're moving vehicles and all that. But the authorities or those responsible for making sure that the laws are enforced, I don't know what their challenges are, but there are weak enforcement of the law, and also especially children in the mining areas too. We have challenges in the laws being enforced, and then insufficient government policies also contributes to some of the causes. And then in fact, child labor really goes a long way to impact on the health of the child or on the life of the child. So on the child, it's physical and mental health issues. So sometimes you can see children who have really gone into those tough areas. They have been exposed to workloads that are not their type of workload, or that is more higher than their age. And so you realize that when they mix with regular children, they are more aggressive. They have the attitude of this survivor, the fetus in that process. So, and their health issues. The ACT Foundation had children who not necessarily in child labor, but have been neglected and left out. And when they come, you can see that they are really quiet. They are in themselves. They want to take things by themselves and all that. So yes, mental health of children is very, very key and important when it comes to child labor. And then some also are denied education because they are in the place working, and then the parents forget that they had to go to school, and the children are also exposed to money early. So going to school becomes difficult. And then they are also deprived of future opportunities, because if they're able to fall into the mainstream, the system and the social justice system, they are able to move forward, have more opportunities, more scholarships, more educational background, and then on society. It perpetuates poverty, even though parents feel that, oh, go in and bring money, but it also perpetuates poverty. You get more of the children not being able to get themselves a better skill to be able to get employable, or they are not able to get employable skills. Let me put it that way. So at the end of the day, they grow up and not being able to contribute anything to their family. And then the whole poverty cycle starts all over again. And it hinders economic development. Yes, true. You get children, and there will be more burden on the little resources, because when children are exposed, or when people in that hazardous work are exposed, they get sicknesses and diseases which bring pressure on the health system. And then their rights are also violated, like I cited, children who are found who are trafficked in, and then they are forced into things they don't have to do. And then children who are found in mining areas, fishing areas, who are also forced into areas, their rights are highly violated. They have no rights. They have no, sometimes they get sick, they can't even see. So these things are great effects or impact on the child. Child labor is really having an impact on the child. And then quickly, to also get us involved, those of us on the page listening to me, we have to find ways. At least you are there across the world, across Ghana, and you are listening to me. We need to find ways to be able to advance social justice in our communities. And one of the things that we need to do as individuals, or as practitioners, or as community members, or as protectors of children's rights, or as people involved in this space, what we need to do is to examine our own beliefs and behaviors, because you can find that beliefs and behaviors can also influence some behavior. So you are in a community, this thing is happening, and you say, oh, it's normal, so people should do it, you believe. So you first have to examine your beliefs and your habits. The second one is to educate yourself about social justice issues. Just as we are doing, educating ourselves about social justice issues, you need to educate yourself about it. You need to know that this thing that is happening is dangerous for the health of the child. I need to get myself involved. I need to get my community involved. You have to, there's one other thing you need to do is also to discover your local organization. So if ACT Foundation is found to be in your organization, look for them, join hands with them, find activities and do together. You can also use the power of social media to talk about these issues. Children in mining area, you can see the pictures, carrying, look at the child, especially the child in green, carrying heavy loads on his head. You can imagine the health, the impact that is going to have to the child. So we need to get ourselves discovered, take positive actions in our communities. When you see that, you don't have to go into attacking, but also do advocacy, talk to the people involved, draw their attention to the health issues that the child are. Look at the child with a hammer. When she crashes her hands with a hammer, what happens? Those stuff. And then we have to attend demonstration if necessary, if possible, use demonstration, protest. If you see protests going on social justice issues, get yourself involved. Let the action take place. You can volunteer with organizations as well. And also, if you cannot do any of those things, you can donate. For instance, ACT Foundation is in the space doing a lot of these works, rescuing girls and younger boys from dangerous work, from dangerous spaces, and from perpetrators. You can donate towards the ACT Foundation so that they can continue. If you know any other organization within your community, you can also donate. You can also push your resources, your money towards them. So these are the issues that we cover in our social justice space. Thank you very much for your time here and listening to me. I would want to take questions, and then we'll see where we come with a presentation.
Alex, thank you very much. And we all know when it comes to child labor, it's an important thing, and it affects so many other sectors in the economy. And also, the GDP of the economy is also affected, because if we said it brings about poverty, the social vices and other things. And you mentioned a very striking statistics that of 21% of children between the ages of 5 and 17 are engage in child labor, and also twice in the rural areas.
Right.
And the topic for today is eradicating child labor. Do you think that there is any hope for Ghana to eradicate child labor in Ghana? And seeing that majority of people are also in the informal sector, and they are also heavily poor, and they depend on the help of their children. In the olden days, you mentioned some very important things that we need to do. And so we should examine our cultural beliefs. We should also examine other things. So in the olden days, when you give birth to more, the assumption is that they'll help you on the farm and they help you to do so many things. Can
Right.
we, as a nation, ever in our lifetime see that child labor has reduced, even if we can't eradicate it?
Yes, we can. We can with the systems that we would follow, especially with the discussions on social justice. Like I said in my last points, we all need to be involved. So advancing social justice, we all need to be involved. The laws are there, but if we are not involved in helping the institutions to take up the responsibilities of ensuring that children are rescued and there's a proper housing or sheltering place, there's a proper healing processes for them, there's a proper pushing them into an area where they will move completely from what they are used to or what they've been pushing to, or there's a proper sensitization and awareness creation with or in those communities with people who are involved in it, then yes, I can say that, yes, Ghana can, in the next future, be able to eradicate, if not eradicate, reduce it.
You mentioned they touch on the area of policies. You mentioned that, of course, Ghana has policies related to child labor. In your opinion, do you think that these policies are being adhered to, or do you think that the awareness of these policies have been widely spread in communities, and especially in rural areas where you mentioned the statistics is twice? So it means if it's 41% or almost half of the people living in villages are involved in child labor. And this is really alarming, and a call for concern for the future of these children. Do you think that the policies have the awareness of these policies? Are people even aware that there's a policy like that? For instance, if I have a child, automatically I need help. You got to help me. You have to help me to make money and do something. But I may not be aware that there are policies against it.
Right. Yes. So Ghana has very good policies when it comes to child protection. And I have been in meetings where we talked about laws about child protection and many other stuff. The only issue is that you can really see from what you just quoted, statistics is showing that, I mean, the issue is still, the numbers are still going high, which I think that it is not the existence of the law or the policies, but it is the weakness in its awareness. It is the weakness in its implementation. It is the weakness in its sensitization, making people aware that there is laws like that that can be done. And also our cultural geography or our cultural setting and orientation also is something that we need to deal with. Even though there are policies, we also need to look at our cultural orientation. Like I said, boys are expected, or the family expectation is that once you're a younger boy or you're a boy coming up, you should be able to go forth and bring something. So if we do more of education of the existence of the law, as well as the impact and the implication for children, then I am very sure that we can, the laws can be more real to people. So it is not, I don't think it is lack of the policy or the policy is not biting, but it is the implementation and awareness, which has really caused the statistics to go up.
Okay, but you would agree that the effectiveness of the policy is actually in the implementation, adherence to the policy, and also awareness of the policy. You mentioned critical factors like we should do more of cultural belief. So it means that there is there are other sides of the policy, like the awareness, the cultural belief, the
Right.
education, the
Right.
creation. It looks like there's a lot that needs to be done. Will we ever cross that road? Ever?
We,
And are there sufficient factors or sufficient even human resources, or are there sufficient organizations that are helping in this area?
in fact, if we want to rely on resources that government provides for agencies that are responsible for taking actions or going into implementing these policies and laws, then I am very, I'm going to be disappointed that it will take a very longer time for us to get there. But what we can do, which I have actually outlined, is to get civil society organizations into that space, is to get individuals in community-based organization into that space, and to get interested individuals into that space, individuals that can get into that space and help promote, so that the numbers will not be going up as we are seeing them, but they will be going down. Because if ILO will make a research to find out that 400 children are in child labor in 40 communities, you can just multiply the 40 by other communities, and you can imagine what is happening in the country. So, yes, we can do something together.
Okay, yes, we can do something together. And so this is a question. And if you are watching us on YouTube, you are welcome to the Shifting Blame series, brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with American Corner, Global, and Mobile Web Ghana. Please keep your comments and your questions, suggestions coming in the chat box. And then, so if you really want to help to eradicate poverty, you want to help, because usually what causes the child labor is because people are poor.
Right.
I mean, we must look at the root causes. I mean, you would not go to like rich communities where you would see that, I mean, their children are involved in child labor, right?
Right.
Where do we draw the line? Where do we start with efforts to eradicating poverty in order to help minimize this? And there are also questions. What role do international laws and politics play in combating child labor? How can we balance the need to protect children from labor exploitation with the need to support families and communities in poverty? It's actually in line with this question.
Okay, because poverty came up as one of the causes, there are so many things that contributes to that. There are no jobs in those communities. There are no factories. There are no factories to process the farm produce, because those communities are basically farming communities, and there are no factories there. There are no industries there to help process their products. So that is kicking the poverty levels up. So with the question of would international laws help? Yes, depending on which ones has been ratified. So if you look at the ILO law, Ghana has not ratified that. But at least Ghana has laws, beautiful laws that can be used to do that. So it is creation of jobs. It is getting people into the productive part of the industry. I mean, adults, parents, getting themselves into productive industry of the economy. And then that can reduce trickle down, like you rightly cited. If you come to the cities, you see rich people, and they will not allow their children. They are more focused with their children going to school and getting to a certain level than ignoring them and letting them go into farming. So it's how we get more people, or how government can push more industries or processing factories into the areas where food stuff can be processed, or storage facilities where they can store their items and get value for what they are producing, so that they can use that to support their children to go to school. So I think these are the things that we can look at when we are looking at the law, as well as its implementation in that country.
And so there's a question about how do you balance, or how do you draw the balance between the need to protect the child from child exploitation and the need to support families and communities in poverty, because there is a thin line, right?
Right.
The families need support, and the child doesn't have that support. So support me, support you, that kind of thing. So
Right.
what would you say about that?
Yes, right. So in our work as ACT Foundation over the years, what we do is that when basically our work had to do with domestic violence survivors, not really into child labor, but domestic violence survivors. So where a woman or a family is pushed out of the home and she has nothing to do, what we do is that definitely if you leave that woman and the child, at a point, the woman will definitely have to push the child into I mean, going into labor. So what we do is that when we rescue them, we give the woman some form of small subsistence to be able to start some business or help the woman go into some skill training so that she can generate some income to support the children go to school. So we can also look at that form where we do need assessment of those people within that community and look at their parents, what we can do to support them in terms of their skill lines. What are they skilled in? So they can be supported into it. Then they leave their children out of the workspace to push them into school. So that's what we can do. And then also, a lot of people have seen child labor as a concept, foreign concept, but it is not. We are also getting those issues as well.
Okay, so Alex, this ties into this question. You know, one would say that and then children have always helped their parents. I have always helped in one way or the other. You know, and what would you say about that? That in Ghana, it is automatic that children should always help their parents.
Sure. Yes, that's why I'm saying that.
Or child labor has been with us since Adam. Why are we now saying that it's a crime? Just like other issues, economic issues that we are battling with, they've been with us since Adam. Child labor has been with us since Adam. Like
Right.
Cain and Abel were working on the farm. And so why would it say that there's a need to now eradicate it completely?
Well, from the presentation I made, you could see that there has been some lines that have been drawn on the type of work that you can get a child to get involved or someone, the age levels where you can get a child or someone to get involved in work. And we have defined them. The works that are hazardous or works that will prevent the child from going to school or work that will impact on the child's performance in school. So if those works that help that the child is providing to the parents will impact on the child's capacity to perform in school or will prevent the child from going to school or is dangerous to the health of the child, then that will be considered as child labor. So that's why I'm saying that in the context of our culture, it's a bit dicey, you see. So you are careful not to go and arrest the whole family or a father and a mother that they are perpetrating an illegality. But you are also very careful that the lines are properly drawn so that whatever work the parents are giving to the child, at the end of the day, it will not impact on their educational performance or their health. In fact, we rescued a young girl who was with someone, and it was just by watching a neighbor just by watching the child and realized that this child is completely being exploited or is being put under a very difficult situation where she has wounds all over her body, and she's doing heavy work at home, like you can imagine. So quickly, the girl had to be rescued. So that is the thin line. If your parents are pushing you to do work that would impact on your health, will prevent you from going to school, will impact on your work performance in school, then they are not allowed to let you. Hello. Hello.
Hi, we seem to have lost Florence. So whilst we
Yes.
wait for her to join, can you please give us your final words, final thoughts, anything you want our audience to take home?
Well, okay. There's this notion out there that the issues of child labor is a foreign concept. And they also say that, like Florence rightly said, that children in Ghana have always helped their parents, their economic activities. But we also need to understand, as people who have a lot of laws that promote the protection of the rights of children and also defines what a child can do or cannot do, it is very, very, very important that I put forth a call of action, that we all get ourselves involved to help protect children, because they are, not they will be, they are the future leaders of the country. A word that we've always been using, children are the future leaders of the country. We need to have a deliberate working practice or action directed towards ensuring that children are protected, they are in school and they are educated and their health is protected and they are doing the right things and they are given the necessary social amenities as they will require. So this will be my ending conclusion.
Okay. Alex, you mentioned this will be your ending conclusion. We just have one last question that has come in. You mentioned that children have rights, right?
Right. Yes, they do.
You mentioned that children have rights. And so if a child is being abused, how is the child aware of the laws? Most children are not even aware of the laws. In Ghana, it's not like the West, where children can call 199 or call a number and report an abuse or something. If a child is being abused, a question is coming from being abused as a child. What do we do? What do I go to? What does the child do? Is there a child awareness program also in the villages where more of these things are seen, more of child labor is seen in the villages and other places that you have mentioned?
Yes, so that's a very good question. So if a child, first of all, let me tackle the issue of whether they are aware or not. Mostly in those areas, they might not be aware because from the statistics, you can see that the levels are high, so they are not sensitized. But where a child identifies or somebody identifies that this child is involved in a work that is dangerous to their health or is preventing them from going to school, or they are not performing well in school and that it can be traced to the kind of work they are involved in, then they can report to the Department of Social Welfare. They can also, if they have any DOFSO office around, or they have any police office around, they can get them. But the best people to go to will be Department of Social Welfare, where they can move the issue up. They will know what to do when it comes to that. So they can look for Department of Social Welfare offices within the community and then discuss that. And then also we can also, organizations can, a community-based organization can be supported to also increase.
Okay, so the best
awareness
place to go to is to go to
the Department
DOFSU Social Welfare.
Right.
To
report. Yes. So yeah. So those are the places they can go and make the reports. DOFSU, um, social welfare, if the offices are close to them. Okay, so thank you very much for having a wonderful time with me. And then we hope to have more discussions or do more in this area. So I'm very, very grateful for standing in for Annabelle and then and the US Embassy as well as the American
Thank you.
corner.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex, for this wonderful program. It's been an interesting discussion, and for me, I've been particularly educated. Before we leave, I want to introduce you to an amazing resource that you may find helpful, and this is the eLibrary USA. The eLibrary USA is a state-of-the-art digital library with 9 premium electronic database that includes digital newspapers, magazines, journals, videos, and dissertation. Usually it's available to use at the American corner, but it's been opened up since the pandemic. So please sign up to the eLibrary USA for this amazing resource and you'll find helpful. And this program was brought to you, like I mentioned, by the US Embassy, Ghana American Corner Gbogbo, in partnership with Mobile Web Ghana. And that concludes our program for today. Follow us on the YouTube channel at US Embassy Ghana for more amazing virtual programs. See you. Bye-bye.